Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Eric Flowers, Indian River County Sheriff, and we are here today to talk about the case of Susie Tomasi. I'm here to tell you today that this is transitioned here at our agency from a missing persons case that we started 5 years ago to a homicide investigation. We know that on March 16, 2018, we identified a white vehicle. It's a white truck. We don't know the make of that truck. It's a very distant video that we've had out on social media for some time. She is seen getting into that vehicle. She is seen leaving eastbound towards the Oslo boat ramp in that vehicle. And then a few minutes later, it appears that that white pickup truck comes back westbound on Oslo Road at a high rate of speed. And we were looking for her for approximately 5 years. We know that on March 3rd, 2023, human remains were located along the coastline approximately 150 yards north of Oslo Road near the Oslo boat ramp. We sent off the remains of Susie Tomasi for verification to positively identify her. Our medical examiner's lab and the Pound lab, which is attached to the University of Florida, did an analysis, and both labs have come back with the same confirmation that it is Ms. Tomasi that we recovered out there that day, but also that she was killed as a result of a bullet wound. And so our team is here today to try and bring some closure to this case. We have taken this back to the drawing board, back to the beginning, and started the investigation because we are now working a homicide investigation. We initially put out a call to the public asking for any sort of assistance that they might have, anything that they might know. And shortly after we identified her remains, detectives received information from a concerned citizen about a suspicious incident that occurred several months before Tomasi's disappearance. Now, we had never heard about this incident prior to her remains being found. So we had been working for some time on this case for 5 years. We had put out multiple calls, and this person, fortunately, came forward after her remains were located. In the story, the citizen told detectives that while she was walking in the area of South Vero Square Plaza, she was approached by a white male driving a white pickup truck, attempting to lure her into that truck. Citizen described the male as white, approximately 30 to 40 years old, medium build with almost shoulder-length brown hair. The citizen worked with our team, and we were able to recall details. She was able to recall details of the male, and we had a sketch completed, which we now have here for the public to take a look at. We have set up a tip line in this case. Specific for this case. If there's anyone who has information about this investigation, they should call 772-978-6259, 772-978-6259, or you can remain anonymous and be eligible for a cash reward by calling Treasure Coast Crime Stoppers at 1-800-273-TIPS 8477 or tcwatch.org. We are looking for additional leads. If anybody recognizes this sketch, this is a person of interest. And I will tell you at this point, we have not ruled out anybody in this case. Anybody that's attached to it is a suspect. This particular sketch here is a person of interest that may be related to this, but it's a tip that we've received since we started, since we found her remains. So with that, I'll take any questions that you guys may have.
The person of interest you think is the guy who was driving the white truck?
So I can't say that. What I can say is that around the time that Ms. Tomasi went missing, a citizen came forward and said that they had a similar type incident with this person in a similar truck. Now, we don't know the make and model of the truck that Ms. Tomasi got into, but we know it was a white truck. And this particular citizen came forward and said that she was approached by a man in a white truck that looked like this.
What was the date of that when she was approached?
She doesn't have a specific date. She doesn't recall a specific date, but it was around that same time. It was before Ms. Tomasi went missing. It was actually before she went missing.
So that'd be in 2018 or something?
Yes, sir, in 2018.
Month?
Can't say for sure. She doesn't have a specific, it was around that time that she went missing, and she never came forward with the information until we found her remains in that area.
And so this sketch is based on this other woman being
The other woman's situation that she had out there. Our team worked with, what was it, Palm Beach County? Palm Beach County came up with their technology. They were able to create this sketch for us.
Can you say where Ms. Tomasi was shot?
We're not going to get into the details of where. We do know from the skeletal remains that we recovered, and we did recover the majority of her skeletal remains as well as the majority of her property in that location, that she was killed as a result of a bullet wound. We would not know caliber, and at this time we're not disclosing the location of that bullet wound.
Sheriff, do you think she was there the whole time, or do you think she was, because you guys, I think, searched that area earlier.
We
What
did.
did you find in there?
We did. We searched extensively. I was out there that night. I know you guys came out there. She went missing on that night, March 16th, and I went to bed knowing that she was missing. And I woke up in the middle of the night and realized she was still missing. And in dementia cases, oftentimes we have a very limited window of time to try and recover a person of that issue with that issue. And so I got dressed in the middle of the night, went out there, personally searched back in the Oslo Preserve area with several of our deputies. We searched all through there. We had EquiSearch come out. We had a number of citizen groups that's worked with us. We searched the entire area. The thing that I'll say to you is we don't know where she was. She was so deep in the mangroves. And we've had several storms since this happened. So our team of detectives is still working to determine, did she go into the water? We know that when someone is killed, they sink for a time period and then eventually float up and move with the current. Our team is looking at the current at that time, back in 2018. They're looking at, everything that we can to make a determination of whether or not she was killed in the location that her body was recovered, or if she was actually in the water and made her way to that location. It's hard for us to say. I believe we will make a determination. It's just very early in the investigation. I think it's going to take us some time. There's certainly some folks that believe that she was killed in that location. If she was, somebody probably either walked along the coastline and went deep into the mangroves or had to find a way through. And I'll tell you, the amount of time that truck is down there and gone is not long. So it's going to be an interesting case to try and determine what exactly happened to her down there at the end of the Oslo boat ramp.
My understanding is robbery may not have been a motive in this case. Is there anything you can add to that?
I'll say we recovered jewelry, we recovered expensive items. It doesn't appear as though robbery was a motive in this. We're working to determine what a motive may be in a case like this. And we're hoping that somebody will recognize the sketch, or maybe this press conference will jar someone's memory of what was happening around that time, and they'll come forward and give us information.
You said you can't eliminate anyone as a suspect, so in this case then you have not eliminated her husband as possibly involved in this?
Not just the husband, but she's got an extensive family. She's got a family that goes over to Italy. She has family all over. Everyone is potentially a suspect in this case.
Sheriff, so you're not ruling out that she could have been killed somewhere else and later her body brought to where it was found?
That's a possibility, and I'll tell you, the folks that were out there searching with us, I mean, they know the extensive levels that we searched out there. So is it possible that she eventually was brought back to that location? Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. We've not ruled that out. But I will tell you, in the days that followed locating her body, I spoke with our teams that searched out there, and I had our boat team go back out, and our team showed them where her remains were located. And she was so deep in the mangroves that the boat team would not have seen her even if they came that far back. I mean, even if they went to the full edge of the water line, she was far enough back in the mangroves they would have seen her. But she could have floated back there based on the storms that have happened, the rising tide, all of that could have brought her back there. So it's hard for us to say at this moment, but those are all things that we're working with various specialists in a variety of different categories, including marine life, how the tides move. We're working with those folks to try and make those determinations now.
And can you refresh then how her body was eventually found since it was so back?
Yeah, there was a fisherman who was there fishing. It was March 3rd, 2023, and he went deep into the mangroves to relieve himself. And while he was up in the woods, he identified a skull, and he immediately came back out and called us. And we went into the water and went north along the waterway and immediately started to work to recover the body. And as we recovered items, we quickly realized that we were probably recovering the remains of Susie. We did find a number of items that we knew belonged to her that the husband was able to identify. So that helped. We believed it was her, but we certainly wanted that official proof from the medical examiner's office and the Pound Lab. We got that back in late April.
You said you recovered jewelry and some expensive items. What are the expensive items?
I don't want to get into the details of what those items were. She did have some expensive jewelry pieces, and we were able to recover those. So that leads me to believe that robbery is not a motive in this case.
Was her body in the water? There were bones, right? There was no body at that point, just bones?
Just bones. She definitely was in the water at some point. The fact that articles of clothing were up in the mangroves shows that the water line had come up, it had rose and fallen back down. And so we do know that she was in the water at some points while she was there, and certainly storms coming through. And the mangroves are very unique in that area, that how the water travels back into there. Where she was at as we recovered her, it was more mud than it was water at that time. But that's not to say that's how it was on the day 5 years ago.
Just gonna be difficult to solve?
We've got this great tip so far with a lead of a person. We're hoping that somebody will come through. Again, we're looking at everybody. We've never, from the beginning of when she went missing, we've always taken a look at family. We've always looked at folks that were related and part of this. And so far, we've been unable to make a case on it, but that's not to say in the future we won't be able to. We're hoping that people come forward with information and tips, and we're able to bring justice to Ms. Tomasi.
And it was the bullet that killed her, not drowning, as far as you know.
So based on the medical examiner's report and the Pound Labs analysis of it, they do believe that it was a bullet that ultimately killed her. However, could those items work in conjunction? Absolutely. That's not, we can't rule that out for sure. We can say that she was struck by a bullet, and there's a pretty good chance that that had a great effect on her ability to survive.
Sheriff, could you explain again the significance of the guy in the white truck that was seen on the surveillance video?
Sure. So shortly after we recovered Ms. Tomasi's remains, our detectives received information from a concerned citizen about a suspicious incident that occurred several months before her disappearance. Citizen told detectives that while she was walking in the area of South Vero Square Plaza, which is where Ms. Tomasi was last seen walking, she was approached by a white male driving a white pickup truck. The driver attempted to lure the female into the truck. She did this sketch right here based on her memory. So again, when you see this sketch, this is from 5+ years ago. This person is likely aged since then, but this is based on her memory of that incident around the same time that Ms. Tomasi went missing.
When you say lured in, did she recall anything specific that he said, or did he physically try
Phil, you wanna
to
take that
grab
one?
her and bring her into the vehicle?
Detective Phil Daughtry spoke to her.
Yes, and speaking with her, it was strictly verbal. He didn't get out of the truck, but he did put her in a position that was uncomfortable and tried to verbally entice her to get in the vehicle.
And how old was that woman?
At this time,
We don't want to identify her
I
right
know,
now.
I'm just wondering if she were elderly like Miss Tomasi was, or
Would
a
you
younger woman.
be okay saying that?
yeah, we can. That's fine.
She's in similar,
Yeah, she's
little bit younger?
middle age or so.
a little bit younger than Ms. Tomasi was. And the situation was similar enough that we thought it strong enough of a coincidence that we would certainly get a sketch done and work with her on that. And it's just too, the way when you watch the video, and our folks have thumb drives for you that has the video, all of the stuff, you're going to get a digital copy of the sketch and everything. But in the way that she is approached, sort of, when she's walking past that white truck, you can tell that the person is kind of calling her over, and that she was on a mission. She was walking, and then that white truck sort of called her over or something that made her stop and come back and then go around and get into the passenger side of that truck. And so the fact that we have that on video, we believe that's her at the end of the Publix Plaza in the back. And this incident that was described is somewhat similar, caused us to at least put this out as a person of interest. Hopefully somebody can identify this person.
Is there frustration or optimism that you're essentially starting at square one now, 5 years later?
I would say optimism. The fact that, we get to take a fresh look at this case from a different lens. We started this as a missing persons case, and we've always been frustrated that it took us 5 years to find her. But now we're truly starting a homicide investigation, and that's what our folks live to do, is find justice and get justice for these folks. And so I believe there's a sense of optimism. It's renewed our excitement on this case and the ability to hopefully find who is responsible for her disappearance and ultimately death.
Having the chance to talk to some of the family members, they've expressed frustrations over the 5 years.
Rightfully so.
And the way that this case has sort of evolved or hasn't evolved. Were there things, now that you're taking a look at it again, that 5 years ago you felt oh, maybe we should have gotten to that, or we missed that somewhere?
You know, if you've been back into that Oslo Preserve, I personally searched it, like I told you. Our teams, I don't think there was anything more we could have done in that area. We had horses and boats and everything that you could possibly think of, citizens, you know, that just wanted to be a part of the search. And we went out there, we beat those woods back, we had machetes. I mean, the place where she was located, they had to cut the mangroves to get inside there to recover her bones. So, you know, even if we knew an approximate area, I don't know we would have been able to find her out there. It's a needle in a haystack type situation. And as far as the family, you know, rightfully so. You know, your loved one goes missing. You want to know where she's at, and ultimately to find out that she was killed in the mangroves is just a terrible thing. Our hearts go out to them, and that's why we're working so hard to bring justice for that family.
And what kind of problems did you run in trying to identify that white truck?
As of yet, we've had no identification whatsoever, and unfortunately,
You went on video. You got it on video. You see her going
Yeah.
toward it. So where do the roadblocks come?
the challenge is that it's a public surveillance video, and it's so far down the road. As a matter of fact, when our investigators first looked at the videos back in 2018 when she went missing, it was actually out of frame. And it wasn't until we were doing our secondary searches on it almost a year later that we were able to zoom out and actually see it's so far outside of the frame. And so when you watch it, it's very grainy. We've sent it to NASA. We've sent it to the FBI for enhancement. There's no further enhancement that we can do. We can't even tell what make, what model it is. We can't tell any of that stuff. So it's a white pickup truck. That's as good as we have with it at this point.
Did the other woman who came forward tell you guys what time of day it was when?
Do you have that
when
information? Do you
that-
want to
when the
give it?
truck approached her? Was it around the same time that?
It wasn't a specific time. She said twice a day she would walk.
Yeah, her memory on it is a little rough, and so we don't want to get into all the details of what she was saying. Nick?
Do you know when she came to you all with the tip?
It's been since she went missing, or since we located her remains. So in the last month or so, that we got this tip, and we took her right down to get this sketch done.
An incident where that happened, that would have happened just not before Tomasi went missing?
Right. This incident happened within several months of her going missing.
Is that what she said spurred her memory or job memory?
Do you want to talk about what caused her to come forward?
Yeah.
Probably don't want to get into the details of what actually caused her to come forward with it. We're trying not to identify her. She's been really good to us coming forward with this information, and so we're hoping that somebody will just remember, based on this sketch, that they can give us more information.
It was since March 30th this year then that she approached you guys?
Yes, absolutely. Once we found her remains, that's when she came forward to us.
Was Tomasi's ID found with her remains?
I don't want to talk about specific things that we located. Yeah.
Could you tell us just a little bit about her? Or was she a grandparent? Did she have, did she work at one point before retiring? Can you just fill us in on her?
She did. She spent her days at the Quilted Giraffe. That restaurant is no longer there. Her and her husband owned that restaurant. She was in the early stages of dementia. She had children. She does have children, and she was regularly seen walking into the Oslo Plaza. It was a normal thing, and on this particular day, she went for her walk. She didn't return in a timely manner, which caused Patrick, her husband, to be concerned, and he went looking for her, which we've seen that on video. You know, he goes into the plaza. The first thing we saw on video was him looking for her, and as we went further back in the video, that's when we saw Susie walking by. And those initial videos that we released and pictures that we released were Susie walking in front of the, it's an antique mall place right there in that plaza. And she's just walking by their cameras and had no idea where she was headed to. And that particular day, we took it in as a missing persons case, and now we're here talking about a homicide.
She was a grandparent?
She was.
Is the family still offering a $10,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest?
Do you want to talk about that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I would say that Crime Stoppers would have an active reward on this. Anything that the family is offering separately, that would be on them. Whether Mr. Tomasi still has that out there, I'm not sure if he's willing to still do that. But I will tell you, Crime Stoppers would definitely pay in a case like this if we're able to make an arrest.
And again, nobody's been cleared at this point.
Everybody's a suspect. I'm not ruling you out, John.
What kind of a big break do you think you really need to get the culprit
It would be very nice to get some tips on this sketch. We're going to put this out on our social media and see if we can figure out if anybody recognizes that, if there's somebody in the Indian River County area or potentially North St. Lucie County area that recognizes that. But I would say, you know, people coming forward, people who know something, whether it's about things that were happening at that time in 2018, if it's something they know, you know, tips on the family, anything like that, we'll take anything. And that's why we've established this hotline specifically for this case, because we do believe that coming forward today, talking to the media, and we wanted to wait until we had that verification. We wanted to wait until the Pound Lab came through before we brought this to you. And obviously getting this sketch done became a priority once she came forward to us. So we would have liked to have come forward to you a little bit sooner, but we wanted to have this for you as well before we came out here. So
The remains are where right now?
we have them. We have, well, actually, they were turned over
They
to
were
family.
released.
We got them and they were turned over to the family.
And what
We
is
have the other evidence that's associated with the case.
And what's the hotline number that people can contact?
Sure, 772-978-6259, 772-978-6259. If you call in on that number, you can leave a message, or you can, if it's answered, you speak directly to the detective, and we'll be happy to get back with you. If you're not comfortable talking to us, you can remain anonymous. You can call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-273-TIPS.
So, you guys established that it was a gunshot that killed her.
We can say for sure that it was a gunshot wound. We believe that it contributed to her death. You know, obviously, but know that she was shot, and we do believe at this time we've ruled it a homicide.
And you're not wanting to say the location of the gunshot? wound?
Correct.
Okay. And that, the location of her death, though, is the mangrove area where she was found?
About 150 yards north of the Oslo boat ramp. She was up deep in the mangroves.
You can't tell if she was sexually assaulted, right?
There's no way for us to tell that. Any other questions?
Was she, this may come out of left field, but was she decapitated?
There would be no way for us to tell you that. There would be no way. We would have to have more evidence. Obviously, the water and the elements out there, you know, beating on body, on the bones for 5 years, there'd be no way for us to tell you that. Thank you guys for coming here and pushing this out. We appreciate any tips that anybody can come forward with. And our folks will get you guys a thumb drive that has all of the media package that has digital versions of all this stuff. So thank you guys for being here today. Thank you.
978-6959?
625.